Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter, and today is Tuesday, September the 3rd, 2024. I am your host of Goldilocks Global Banking News, your number one source for the facts on the RVGCR, where over 100 countries are subscribed, including Iraq, Vietnam, Indonesia, India, Jamaica, Colombia, now Venezuela. There are so many countries with people from around the world subscribing and tuning in. We are proud to be your daily podcast on the RVGCR. Facts, no fiction, brought to you by Goldilocks Global Banking News. I have my morning discussions with Goldilocks, and Goldilocks is sharing what the trends are for the US dollar. So the US dollar trend and where it's looking to go in the very, very near future, as other assets such as precious metals such as gold and others also have a trend. We will begin to see the shift in the financial markets that shape and are preparing us for the global event that we're waiting for. We can see it happening. Let's jump right into it. The technical trend for the dollar, Goldilocks shares, is reaching a tipping point to the downside. The technical trend for the dollar is reaching a tipping point to the downside, meaning that it's trending to get weaker. And this is as Bitcoin and other crypto assets are beginning to show signs of mass adoption, or meaning gaining momentum. We just recently talked about Ripple beginning to receive a great deal of attention from institutional investors because many big money players and institutional investors are pumping money, loads of money, into Ripple and crypto assets. Institutional investors move with trends and shape the financial landscape of a market. Yes, folks, the institutional investors move the markets. They move the trends. They are the ones who make the markets go up or down. For the last 3.5 years, tokenized assets have been well placed to formulate new networks across the market. We have witnessed Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs find their place in the markets. Ripple even has its own index, creating a standard for the tokens that follow. As you can see, a great deal of the dollar is moving into tokenized assets that will find new values inside the new digital economy through their use and actual values that the quantum financial system can actually formulate inside our new financial instruments. So here we have Goldilocks is sharing that as the dollar is moving to tokenized asset, moving into a tokenized asset, meaning backed by assets, we can see other digital assets and actual values that will begin to take shape on the quantum financial system. Well, what are those assets? Precious metals. What are those assets? Cryptocurrencies. What else are those assets? Yes, paper currencies. At the recent Jackson Hole Symposium, the discussion to lower interest rates is expected to cause a decline in the value of the dollar, creating a space for the rise of tokenized assets to begin formulating new price pressures inside the digital networks. So, what Goldilocks is sharing, that as the interest rates begin to go up, the value of the dollar is expected to go down, but also the value of precious metals and assets to back our dollars and other paper currencies. Well, those assets, such as the gold and other commodities, is expected to go up, to rise up. These new price structures inside the new digital economy will shift attention from the dollar to digital assets, especially as they are used as payments in global trade. Yes, digital assets to be used as payments in global trade. Why? We are witnessing several countries beginning to announce their new digital infrastructures, meaning, folks, that you have countries such as Iraq that are announcing already that they are digital. And by this happening and them doing so, new trade mechanisms utilizing their own tokenized assets will allow credit to be given to their own local currencies. So as Iraq and other countries digitize their banking systems, therefore utilizing digital tokens and tokenized assets, which means assets that are backed by tokens, digital tokens. This also gives way for countries to begin utilizing their own currencies backed by those tokenized assets. Gold, ladies and gentlemen, tokenizes assets. These patterns will create the opportunity for global currencies to find their new values through supply and demand. These new patterns, meaning the digitizing of the banking systems around the world and tokenizing their assets, such as the digital means to back their paper currencies with gold and other commodities, it will create the opportunity for those currencies to obtain their new values by way of supply and demand. This is the trend that we're expecting. When you see the U.S. Treasury Department step in with their own regulatory digital framework, Goldilocks says, we will have crossed the bridge into new financial territory. This is why we have been recently following the Federal Register for new regulatory policies that are being implemented as we speak. Because, folks, Goldilocks has been sharing the various new regulations coming down in September and a large amount of new regulations being implemented in October, all connected to the new regulations and rules in the quantum financial system, which many of them, several of them, I should say, are relevant to foreign currency exchanges. The Goldilocks shares, and there's an article here which what happens when the anti-money laundering laws go into effect. We will talk about them this week, Goldilocks says, as I'm aware that the anti-money laundering is on the docket of publication and implementation. The U.S. Treasury is the way forward, Goldilocks says. Look for them to define a U.S. crypto policy. As digital assets become law, the game will be complete. Why is that? Because as digital assets become law, you got to remember, digital assets, cryptocurrencies, is what will back also our paper currencies and the tokenized assets to basically prepare our paper currencies to rise in value, because they will be backed by commodities and assets that are digitally supported by gold. That is how we get the digital assets. The digital representation of gold is digital assets because gold is an asset. And the U.S. Treasury is looking to define those crypto regulations, which will give way for our paper currencies begin to move as well. Because our paper currencies need to be backed by what? Gold. And it will be able to be accomplished by what means? Digital. We are moving into the quantum financial system, which is a digital new banking system. Goldilocks continues because now we're looking at transparency as a rule and regulation. And in the quantum financial system, one of the key components is transparency. This is to protect our money, to protect our exchanges, to protect our assets in the quantum financial system. So the federal agencies begin to implement the Financial Data Transparency Act. August the 26th, just a few days ago, the Financial Transparency Act, it is a law that was passed in December 2022. Its purpose is to make financial data more accessible and useful for consumers and investors by modernizing how it's collected and shared by federal financial regulators. Here are some of the Financial Data Transparency Act key features. Data standards, which is key identifiers and common identifiers for us to be able to access our bank accounts on the quantum financial system. Also, some of the agencies covered, which are the U.S. Department of Treasury, the Commodities Future and Trade Commission, which our currencies will be backed by commodities, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, which all currencies will be registered as securities. These are some of the key features of the Financial Data Transparency Act. Also, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency as well. The Financial Data Transparency Act also covers data formatting, data meaning, which is the clearing to define the meaning of data. Data ownership. It requires data to be not registered or available under an open license. It must be secured and closed and private. Then Goldilocks shares an article by the Financial Data Transparency Act showing that it's already in the implementation stage. It's already in the implementation status. This is not something that has to be done. It's already being implemented. Goldilocks shares. We are nearing the end of this process. And this is why we are seeing so many federal registered rules currently being finalized and being reported into the Federal Register. Because this is where, ladies and gentlemen, law becomes reality in the Federal Register. Where regulations, which of course we need in order to legalize and regulate the quantum financial system, in order to legalize and regulate our exchanges, these regulations must be implemented. We are at that phase now where regulations are being implemented. There are several others. These are the ones now that are right in motion. Stay grounded, stay in love, stay kind, be well. Also stay in unconditional love. Ciao. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR, brought to you by Freedom Fighter.